gives you a closer look at the events that happened around Maine this week.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Cindy Campbell. Graduation season is upon us and serves as a good reminder to start planning now for what comes next. I chatted with Martha Johnston of the Finance Authority of Maine about the NextGen program and an offer that's too good to pass up. Martha, it seems hard to believe, but graduation is just around the corner.
Right. And so we want to talk about college and saving for college. Are you ready?
Oh, absolutely. Fill us in on the latest.
Great. Well, really, thank you for having us. I think we've been spending a lot of time here at FAME, and we always do, thinking about how to help people pay for college. And certainly it's been a long year, right? So, we thought what better way to celebrate graduation or the end of a year, whether you're in kindergarten, middle school, or graduating high school, to think about college savings and make sure people understand what NextGen is, which is the 529 program for the state of Maine. And basically, if you think 401k, 529 refers to this tax code, and it's a tax advantage way to save for college. And we just want to make sure Maine people realize that they have some phenomenal benefits available to them to really help them save and get ready for those expenses for education after high school, whether it's community college or four-year college, whatever it is they're trying to help the young person in their life prepare for.
Now, does the NextGen College Savings Account, can you open one of those if you already have an Alphon grant?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're so lucky in Maine. Every baby born after January 1st, 2013 has a $500 Alphon grant, and it's really fabulous because we've managed to find a way to link the two together, meaning if you open a NextGen account with your Alphon grant, you can see that grant, and hopefully over time it has earnings and grows, but you can also make your own contributions toward college savings. So yourself, family, friends, anyone wants to help your young person. So yes, and if you put $25 in that account for 2021, FAME will actually match it with another $100 initial matching grant. So you'll have your Alphon grant showing up there. You'll have your $100 initial matching grant with just an initial contribution from you of $25. And so it's really a great way for Maine people to realize we're investing in them and we want them to invest in their futures.
What a great graduation gift. I mean, a deposit of $25 and it gets matched with $100. That's great.
Well, exactly. And it's never too late. So I think people might think, well, graduation is too late. I can't open an account now, but that's not true. Every bit helps. And it can help, especially if the young person is taking a little time to decide what they want to do after high school. But certainly it could be graduation from middle school. It could be graduation from elementary school. And we know that these last 15 months have been a really challenging year for our students, our young people, our teachers, our families. And so, as we round the corner and feel more optimistic about things changing and hopefully going back to normal, we think it's a great way to celebrate and open a NextGen account and really show those young people that you're invested in their future.
So even if your kid says they want a car for graduation, this is going to give them a future, right?
Exactly. They might want that car, but they're going to need that education.
Well, certainly a great idea and an awesome message of hope. Martha, is there a website folks can go to get more information on the NextGen program?
Yeah, easy website. Go to nextgenforme.com. You can also even call our 800 number, 1-800-228-3734, and we have customer service folks right here in Augusta that can help you and answer any questions you have and walk you through the process. But nextgenforme.com is a great way to start your research, and we hope you'll agree with us that there's a lot of great benefits for Maine people, and we want you to start saving. It never hurts, and it's always a good thing.
Find more information about NextGen at nextgenforme.com and learn more about the Finance Authority of Maine and how to apply for financial aid at famemaine.com. Next, summer temperatures and humidity are here, so we have a reminder from Bangor's Animal Control Officer, Tricia Bruin, about how to know when it's too hot to take your dog in the car. Today we're going to be talking about pets in cars. I am going to refer to this as dogs in cars, but any pets. I say that because I have a dog, so that's right. What I think of immediately as dogs. At what outdoor temperature, Tricia, should you not leave your pet in the car? Should you leave the pet at home?
Well, obviously, if it's going to be in the 90s, that should be a no-brainer.
Right.
Don't even bother. There's no point in going to Walmart at noon and bringing your dog with you when it's a nice hot July, August day. With that being said, there are other days when you normally wouldn't think it would be a problem. You leave your house, it's cloudy, but then quickly the temperature can change. The sun can come out. It might only be 78 degrees, but when the sun is really bright and the inside of your car can heat up very quickly. So even a day when you may not expect it to be too hot or a problem for your animal, it really could be. And there's a lot of other factors like humidity, and if you have a black car with a black leather interior and you don't crack your windows open, you know, your dog is going to be in trouble a lot quicker than someone with a different car. And even breeds of dogs, that is a difference as well.
Yeah, some breeds don't cool off as well as other dogs. They have a harder time self-cooling.
Exactly. Right? Those dogs with the flat faces, we always think of pugs and bulldogs. They have a really hard time. And dogs don't sweat. They're not like people. They can't just sweat out of all their pores like we can. And they can't just take off a coat when they get a little too warm. So, you know, panting and through the little pads in their feet is the best they can do for cooling. And when they're sitting on a hot surface and the air around them is also hot, then the ability to cool down is definitely not there.
Right. I saw a video one time, and I actually tried it for myself just for my own education. If you're not sure whether it's too warm, you go out and sit in the car with the windows cracked like you would leave for a dog for, say, 5 minutes and see how long you last.
Right, exactly. And then, of course, I always get the argumentative folks who will say, oh, look, I'll sit in my car. It's totally fine. And they throw their kid in the back seat, and they'll sit in there. See, we're fine. Well, okay, I see your argument. However, you're sweating, and your dog can't. And again, you know, 5 minutes being able to do it is one thing, but leaving your dog in the car while you do a shopping run for 45 minutes to an hour is very different.
And that's an important point. I think there are some people who say, well, I'm just going to run in for a minute. And how often do we say, I'm just going to run in for a minute, and half an hour later you come out of the store?
Oh, exactly. One thing leads to another, and you bump into someone you know, and then a conversation ensues, and yeah. So it's very easy to lose track of time.
Are there good indications if you pass a vehicle and there's a pet, a dog inside the vehicle? Are there good indications that you can look for that maybe the dog is in distress?
Absolutely. I mean, generally people think, oh, the dog is barking, it's distressed. Well, that's actually not really a sign of a dog being too hot. It's probably a sign of a dog being upset because of separation anxiety, and they don't want to be out there alone, and they want their owner to come back. A true sign of a dog actually being distressed, being too hot in the car, is drooling, panting excessively, drool coming out of their mouth. It even starts to get a little frothy as, you know, it gets worse.
Right.
And probably the dog that's really in danger, no one will notice, because those are the dogs that are climbing into the back seat, trying to get under the seat where it's cooler, trying to get out of the sunlight. So the dogs that are really, really in distress are going to be hidden, trying to get into the shady, coolest part of the car they possibly can. The larger dogs you'll probably see because they can't fit, and they'll just be sitting there drooling in the back seat.
I see people post things on Facebook all the time that if I passed a car and there was a dog in the car on a sunny day, I'd break the window and get the dog out. Is it legal to do that?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely not, because you will be liable for replacing that window. And the main problem is, yes, we all love dogs, and no one wants to see a dog hurt, but I think we all know that we all bring our dogs places and leave them in the car, too. The only difference is we know how long we've been out of the car, and we know what we're doing. We don't know the story with the dog that you see in the car at that moment. Maybe they've only been in the store 5 minutes. You have no idea.
Right.
And the problem is, if you start breaking windows, I mean, then you're going to find out. The dog's not in distress at all. The dog has a bowl of water in the back seat. The owner ran in the store and has only been in there 5 or 10 minutes. So we receive so many calls, and we go and check on so many dogs, and a very small percentage are actually in distress that I've actually had to remove from the vehicle. With that being said, if we find a dog in a vehicle and we can't reach the owner and it's parked at some place, for example, the movie theater, where I can assume you're not coming out for an hour and a half,
right,
we're going to have to take the dog out of the car at that point. So that may be one instance where we take a dog out when it's not totally distressed, just because we know you're not going to be out. And that was a very poor decision to make, leaving your dog in a hot car while you're at a movie.
Right.
If someone's parked at, the Irving station, well, I really don't think you're going to be shopping too long at the Irving station.
Right.
So I don't get very concerned about that. It's just the big box stores and, groceries, anything, at the mall. because there's no way to know how long people are going to be.
So when in doubt, if you think a dog is in distress, call the police?
Yes, that's always the best thing to do, because if you take matters into your own hands, you're going to be liable for any damage you cause. And, if you see the dog and they're barking or, they're alive and well when you see this dog, you're better off calling us. We can make the determinations that need to be made. We can call and have, a local locksmith come and open up the door if we need to. We can handle it in a way that you won't get in trouble.
Right. Yeah, my husband and I had police called on us one time. We had left our dog in the car for about 10 minutes, and someone pulled up, and it was a warm day, and called the police, and the dog was leaning out the window. Actually, my husband was in the car by the time the police got there, and he walked up, and our dog leaned out the window and licked his hand, and he said, well, this dog is obviously fine. And was very nice about it. But at the same time, it's kind of annoying, but at the same time nice that someone was concerned about the dog. But
Right, and this is what I try to explain to the dog owner, because people aren't calling because they're trying to get you in trouble.
Right,
That's not the intent. The intent is, I see a dog, I'm concerned, is it going to be hurt? So I try to explain to every, defensive dog owner that, everyone just loves dogs, everyone cares, we're just here to check, and, most of the time, the dogs are fine, and I just let the person know, I'm just taking this information, I'm writing a report, your dog is fine, end of story.
Right.
But there are the few cases when the dogs are not, and then the dogs are taken out, and then there'll be some costs associated with that for the dog owner at that point. But
right. Okay. So it's a hot day. You've left the dog at home. Kind of think of the same things, right, as far as not leaving the dog outside without shade.
Oh, correct. And, the worst case that I've ever had was actually a dog hooked outside on its own front lawn.
Wow.
The dog was just left out there too long, and he was definitely in respiratory distress. I had to just unclip him from his run, throw him in the car, drive him to the eVet, and they had to cool him down. And he actually survived. His temperature was 107 degrees.
Wow.
Which is, that's when you start getting brain damage.
Yeah.
That's very, very dangerous. And once your dog is older in age or a young puppy, they're more susceptible to changes in temperature, and they have a harder time self-regulating. So you have to be even more cautious with really young dogs, really old dogs. And once they've had a couple of instances where they've been left in the car and they've been overheated, and they just become more sensitive as time goes on. So they're at a higher risk going forward. So people really need to be careful with their animals and make sure they do have water and make sure they do have shade. And it's really hard to find that when you're in a car in Bangor trying to shop. There aren't many shady parking spots, as we all know, who have dogs. We've tried.
Yeah, for sure.
And some people leave their car running with AC on, which is great as long as your car doesn't fail. And some cars do have like a timer that's built in that people don't know about. They'll leave their car running with AC on, and then the car shuts off after like 10 or 15 minutes. So make sure you know what your car has for these mechanisms, because that would be a very unfortunate situation to think your dog is perfectly safe and then find out the opposite.
Yeah, and chances are you left the windows up so it would hold the cold air in the car.
And that's even worse.
Yeah.
Yep. And tinted windows, and no one's going to see inside. No one will see your dog. No one will call us. Yeah. It's pretty scary. We've been very fortunate. People are really alert and made phone calls when they've needed to be made, and dogs have been saved. And so hopefully we will continue with our good fortune for this summer as well.
All right. Awesome.
And, but just, I try to, people, think about groceries. I remember being a kid. My mom, we'd go to the grocery store. No, we can't stop. We have to get home or the ice cream will melt. Just think of your dog as a gallon of ice cream.
Right.
I mean, if you wouldn't leave your ice cream in the car because it's too hot, why are you leaving your dog?
Right. Take a bottle of water. I've tried this too. Take a bottle of water, put it in your car, shut your car with the windows down a little bit like you would for the dog. Go back 5 minutes later and try to drink that water on a hot day.
Right.
And you can't, and that's what's happening to your dog, so...
Right. And just because your dog is fine, quote unquote, they're not happy. They are very uncomfortable,
Yeah.
So, I mean, just for that alone, you wouldn't leave your kid locked in the car. You wouldn't leave hopefully your parents locked in the car. Don't leave your dog locked in the car.
Right. And as a dog owner, I know we say this all the time. You know, our dog loves to go for a ride.
Yes.
Then leave the dog at home, go to the store, go home, and then take your dog out for a ride without stopping anywhere. And the dog, you know, or maybe stop and get them my dog loves Munchkins from Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, yeah. You got to get the Munchkins. You have to go to the bank. You got to go through the drive-thru, so you get the little dog biscuit there.
Right.
Right. There are some errands that are great to bring your dogs along with. But, yeah. Definitely not the big grocery shopping or going to the mall.
Right. Okay. One last thing. This is the time of year to protect your pet with rabies and Lyme vaccines, right?
Oh, my word, yes. And rabies vaccines are required by law, and they are required in order to license your dog, which is also required by law. So definitely stay up to date with your vaccines with your vet, and there are other clinics available if for some reason, you know, I know that a lot of the vets are having a hard time with the COVID restrictions and keeping up with all their clientele that needs services. So, I mean, if you just need a quick rabies shot to stay up to date, there are clinics available for that. But the Lyme vaccine, a lot of people will get that. I actually get that for my dog because she's a black dog, and the ticks are hard to see until they've been on there a while sometimes. I try, you know, you look, you pat your dog down, but then you'll find one later in her armpit or in the ear. So, for some people, the Lyme vaccine is definitely a wise choice. Yeah. And I don't know what's going on, but this year the ticks are a lot more numerous.
They're crazy
than they were
this
last year. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know where they all came from.
Yeah. Tricia, that's what I had. Is there anything I missed, any point you wanted to bring up that we didn't cover?
People usually want to talk about the pavement. I mean, I think people know. I mean, don't walk your dog on pavement all the time. Let them get off into the cool grass. It's bad for their paws.
Maybe walk in the evenings and in the mornings rather than middle of the day.
Right, in the middle of the day. And, you know, people do go out because that's when they can, but just deviate off, walk in the grass too, not just on the sidewalk or whatever. Yeah, and cracking windows on both sides of the car, not just one, because it's hard to get a cross breeze and ventilation when only one side is open and the wind's on the other side.
Tricia clarified to me after this interview that it's technically not illegal to break out a window in a car to rescue a dog in distress. However, the vehicle's owner could have you charged with criminal mischief. I'm Cindy Campbell. Thanks again for joining us, and stay healthy.
Join us again next weekend for Maine Concerns with your Town Square Media News team.